Christmas. It's one of those magical times of year where no matter who you are and how you celebrate, the spirit of the season makes everyone excited. And there's plenty of ways to celebrate. You can drink all the spiked eggnog you can before you pass out, stuff yourself with Christmas cookies, or, like what I do, watch some stop-motion Christmas specials. Now, you have your usuals like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus is Coming to Town, and you have some more obscure titles to check out as well. But what if I told you that there's a title out there that is so obscure that it's practically forgotten? You tell me to prove it, and I will, with a freezer-burn Christmas. I seriously have no idea what this special was until I saw an Amazon listing for it a few months back. And as for anyone else talking about this, the only other person who knows of its existence is the YouTuber Cartoon Obsession, who made a video talking about this special back in 2020. Now, I call this obscure not only because this is without a doubt the best example of forgotten media I've seen, but in researching this, there is little to no information that can be found in regards to who the hell made this special, or any information that can be found post-release. Aside from a couple second-party websites that aren't official. Primary sources like IMDb are practically useless here, and anything that can be found on IMDb will pretty much lead to dead ends. From what we do know on the surface, this is a half-hour Christmas special from Wreckless Abandoned Studios, which according to IMDb, only made one other thing. That's not a good sign. And while this may look like one of those direct-to-video movies you will find in a bargain bin, this was actually aired on television, NBC to be exact, in 2002, and it makes sense it was on NBC considering three primary SNL actors, Horatio Sanz, Chris Parnell, and Daryl Hammond, are all in this. And speaking of the year, the special is listed as being released in 2002, but the copyright listing says it was released in 1997. Now, I can't really find any information in regards to an airing in 97, but if I can take this announcement from when NBC said they'll release it into account, it can be fair to speculate that the special either aired in 97 and nobody noticed, which would then lead NBC to re-air it in 2002, or this special took 5 years to make. It's honestly not fair to speculate, but seriously, I have to connect already faint dots to try to understand how the special came to light. Well, hopefully those dots don't be faint for too long, because after doing some really heavy digging, I at least now know more about the people who made this, as well as what the hell Wreckless Abandoned Studios even was. But we're gonna save talking about that for when we take a break, because spoiler alert, this movie sucks. So let's not waste any time. Let's talk about A Freezer Burn Christmas. We begin our movie inside a garage for ice cream trucks, where we come across our narrator for the evening, Gus, as he explains all about how ice cream vendors are looked down upon. And I have a strong feeling Horatio was told to do his best Dan DeVito impression while voicing this character.
Most people don't think that much of ice cream vendors. Folks look down on them. Think of them as losers that can't get a real job.
I dropped my monster condom that I used for my Magnum Dong.
Anyway, this leads us to our story and main character for the evening, Freezerburn, played by Chris Parnell, the Ed Helms of the 90s. He's a broke ice cream truck driver who gives away his own product to kids who pull the sad card on him. Kinda makes sense how he's broke. Now, why is he named Freezerburn? Because, I don't know. You'll be saying that a lot while watching this, just letting you know, along with Anyway, and following around for work is his pet penguin?
Everywhere I go, he'll follow me. He's a silly, sleepy penguin from the deep blue sea.
Anyway, Freezerburn comes across the home of Professor Crenshaw, who's a friend, I guess. They don't really make it too clear their relationship, like how do they know each other? If anything, this is the first time they meet, which makes the whole interaction even more awkward. Anyway, Professor Crenshaw tells Freezerburn that goons broke in and stole a secret formula that he's been working on, which will ground any sort of flying thing. So Freezerburn goes after them in the most underwhelming car chase I've seen, and makes his way to their hideout while another song plays.
Nick and Nat, Nick and Nat, Atlas Toys. Santa.
Oh my god, the intelligence in this special makes Sesame Street look like Nova. So at the hideout, it's revealed that the villain wants to spike Santa's reindeer with Professor Crenshaw's formula so that they can't fly, which would lead to him making a profit off of the toys that he can sell instead. And then as Freezerburn leaves, this happens.
Tell you what, lay a mocha delight on me, and I'll cruise the block a couple of times and pretend I didn't see it.
Does the tow truck driver want to bang him? I think so. He looks and moves around like a sex doll. So, Freezerburn and his penguin decide to drive up to the North Pole and warn Santa about the villain's plans, but not before the professor's niece and Freezerburn's obvious love interest Anna decides to join in on the journey. Is there a point to her being here? No. Is her relationship with Freezerburn going to be developed? No. Is she a useless character in an already bland story? Oh, you're goddamn right she is. While they travel, they stop by a diner, and unknown to them, the villains are following, and they proceed to sabotage the van.
Oh, man.
Well, since it's going to take them a while to get the van fixed, I'm going to fade to black for a moment, but when we come back, we'll talk about who made this and just what the hell Wreckless Abandoned Studios even was. Like I said, because IMDb is practically useless in providing key information on this movie, I really had to dig into secondary websites to try to find what I feel can best help fill in the blanks about where the hell this movie came from, and I think this is the best picture I can paint. So, just what was Wreckless Abandoned Studios? Well, it was founded in 1997 by brothers Michael and Mark Bannon off of a $750,000 investment to make an animation studio. The studio's main contribution at the time was to make commercials and promos for other clients. The most famous of these contributions were 3 bricks filmed for the Lego company and the later Davy and Goliath Mountain Dew commercial. But Michael wanted to make a Christmas special that would level the quality and style of prominent Rankin Bass Christmas specials, and soon began work on a freezer-burn Christmas. The special was produced with an estimated $1 million budget, and it was aimed to be the starting point of much bigger projects for the studio, including another Christmas special and 2 TV series, which, according to my research, most likely didn't happen. If the information I found is 100% legit, it can be said that Wreckless Abandoned Studios ceased operations not long after the NBC airing of Freezerburn Christmas. So, good job Freezerburn, you killed everyone's hopes and dreams. Well, not really, but we'll talk about it at the end. So, after fixing the tire, they finally arrive at the North Pole where they encounter Santa Claus, and he tells them that the bad guy Atlas, yes, that's the villain's name, has been trying to ruin Christmas for a long time. But before Santa can go into a backstory about why he and Atlas don't get along, elves come in and let everyone know that the reindeer has been given the anti-gravity formula and that the sleigh's been destroyed. Then Freezerburn gets an idea. With the final bag of magic flying dust and with the help of his penguin, he assembles animals to help make Santa's flight, with his ice cream truck acting as Santa's sleigh. Just as things are going smooth, the villains are up in the air as well, thanks to them stealing a second bag of magic dust from Santa and then give chase, very slowly and very enthusiastically, like most of the animation in the special. But Santa has one more trick up his sleeve and uses his own magic to make the toy planes he has fly at the bad guys, which makes me wonder, why didn't he use his own magic to help the reindeer? But that requires more thought, something the special doesn't really seem to have. And when one of the bad guys is about to fling a vial of the serum at our heroes, a walrus sneezes it back at them, sending them to their fate. Or at least a fate that is family safe.
Look, I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
With Christmas saved, Gus gives one final monologue I could really care less about, and the movie ends. Well, this was a very boring, underwhelming, and rushed mess. I can now understand why the special is mostly forgotten. There really isn't anything here worth remembering in a positive light. Hell, even the description on the back of the box doesn't sound that entertaining. A description, I might add, is just a summary of what happens in this movie, plot point by plot point. I am not kidding. Overall, the special feels really random and difficult to understand from a narrative perspective, and I generally feel like if this was an hour-long special instead of just 22 minutes, there could be room for improvement here. The stop-motion animation can be impressive for what it is, considering this was the first major production for the studio, but I just wish there was more fluidity in motion that doesn't make it all look like they're stilted the whole way through. I mean, I don't want to compare apples to oranges here, but the debut Wallace and Gromit short, A Grand Day Out, cost £11,000 in 1989 money, and that still turned into something that holds up impressively well today. Even the Christmas specials, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus Coming to Town, hold up well, and those were made in the 60s and 70s. Here, you can definitely see that this movie aged with time and is dated because of it. The special also doesn't work as a musical. Oh yeah, but you already forgot this was a musical, and apparently this movie did too because it pretty much gave up a third of the way through.
The rent is due, the rent is due. I've got no cash, what can I do? He's a silly, sleepy penguin from the deep blue sea.
Nick and Neck, steal the formula and bring it back. Doing what the boss says every day. Nick is clever, Neck likes to play.
Look, I'm not a huge musical person, but I have a feeling that for something to be considered a musical numbers should take up the majority of the project. But even after saying all of this, I don't hate this movie, but at the same time, I don't really enjoy or see a point in this movie even existing as it is. In the end, I think this is just all one big waste of time. Not just for those who have to watch it, but for those who had to make this. Which is a shame, because behind the scenes, everyone seems really happy and excited about making this. Being the first major project from Wreckless Abandoned Studios really shows here. But I feel that if the studio was still around, there would have been room for improvement. But there's no way of knowing that for sure. As for after the special, it can be fair to assume that the majority of those involved would move on to better pastures, with a small chunk of the production staff moving on to Robot Chicken. Most notably, John Harventine IV, who would later go on to direct episodes of Robot Chicken, as well as create the show Crossing Swords. As for the writer and director Michael Bannon, he would continue with stop motion at the advertising level, and will go on to produce commercials as part of Bob's Discount Furniture, of which he is also director of advertising. I want to have hope that everyone was able to do better things after this, and this was just a hiccup on the resumes. As for freezerburn Christmas as a whole, I guess if you're a young kid who would like anything, I guess it could be something to watch. But as similar to the stop motion, animation, and Christmas specials, this was a challenge to get through without turning it off. I recommend watching it only once just to say you watched the most forgotten and obscure special, but then after that, don't focus on it again. And if you have the time, check out other stop motion Christmas specials and not this. Well, this was quite the topic to talk about for Christmas, but I can't really say I didn't have fun doing this. I missed this, and I think I'll do more of it next year. I'll have more news to share, but just know things are going to change for the channel when January hits. But that's for then, so until then, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year.